successful without nobility of nature and supreme intellectual gifts. C.G. Jung's studies on the unconscious and the driving force which in individual men brings about the great movements of history shed a new light on Alexander's work and character. Dr. Gilbert Murray's 5 Stages of Greek Religion, The Rise of the Greek Epic, and translations of Greek plays, C. Selkman's 12 Olympians, Werner Jaeger's Paideia, and many of the dialogues of Plato all contributed to provide the material for Part 2. I have profited by the encouragement, advice, and criticism of many friends. I mention gratefully these names: Mr. John Hunt, who read every chapter; Dr. Redvers Ironside, who gave special attention to the chapter on the city-state; Mr. and Mrs. Donald Phillips, aided in many ways. Without the assistance of Mrs. Phillips, a student of the C.G. Jung Institute of Zurich, the pages dealing with the myths and Jung's philosophy would not have been clearly expressed for the general reader. Valuable help was given by my nephew, R.L.S. Blackadder. Others whose useful suggestions were adopted should be mentioned: Mrs. Van Sommen Godfrey, Dr. Elizabeth Senior, Dr. Patricia Jevons, Mr. Peter Hunt, Miss Elise McMichael, Dr. Ethel Browning, and Mrs. Gina Franklin. Their interest and appreciation encouraged me to continue an apparently interminable task. I am indebted to Mr. Cuthbert Wilkinson for help with the reading of proofs and the compilation of the index, and to the following publishers, who have kindly permitted me to use quotations from their books: the Cambridge University Press, Jonathan Cape Limited, Chatto and Windus, the Clarendon Press, Constable and Company Limited, J. M. Dent and Sons Limited, the Encyclopaedia Britannica Limited, the English Universities Press Limited, Hodder and Stoughton Limited, Henry A. Laughlin, Routledge and Kegan Paul Limited, Longmans Green and Company Limited, Methuen and Company Limited, the Oxford University Press, Paul R. Reynolds and Son, New York, C. A. Watts and Company Limited, the Thinkers' Library. I should also like to thank most warmly the staff of the London Library for their assistance in tracing quotations from ancient authors, and my publishers for helpful cooperation throughout the passage of this book from the typed manuscript to the completed volume. Agnes Savill. Part 1, Chapter 1. Introduction. Accession to crossing of the Hellespont. Alexander the Great has had a magnetic attraction for many writers who have approached the subject from angles varying with their emotional reaction. All history is coloured by the temperament of the individual who selects the facts which to him appear relevant or important. No doubt I am no exception. Puzzled by the contradictory accounts of the character and the aims of Alexander of Macedon, I delved into many volumes, both hostile and friendly, but found no convincing evidence that a man with such enchanting promise in youth had degenerated into the drunken tyrant and megalomaniac depicted by his detractors. Such attributes were inconsistent with the fact that, whether present or distant, he could always rely on the implicit obedience of his officers, strong and remarkable men. Of few, if of any, great captains has that been recorded.
For over 21,000 miles, his army, joined by volunteers from many nations, followed him through Persia and the Punjab.
Several able Romans essayed to repeat his march, but none reached further than 1,800 miles behind his turning point. The books of Sir William Tarn and Ide Wheeler gave reliable clues for an understanding of the complex personality of the great Macedonian, conqueror, explorer, dreamer of visions. Thus it happened that during a period of convalescence I had time to ruminate over the extraordinary story, and was impelled to compose a summary which might interest the general reader, who in these days knows too little of the history of Greece. Nor am I the first to have found consolation from the fascinating subject. Ushvalvi's tome on the statues of Alexander tells of the sickness of King Alphonse of Naples. Despairingly he called for something to distract his mind from his sufferings. His physician sent him a book on Alexander, which was read aloud to him. "Fille des médecins!" he exclaimed, as the narrative was continued. Alexander passed his boyhood in an atmosphere of unrest, rumours, and fear of war with neighbours, frontier tribes, and Persia. It is in such times of recurring crises that people demand a strong leader, an ideal hero.